The week started like any other with a morning sun slicing through my kitchen blinds and the smell of rising sourdough in the oven. Monday is my baking day. I've got my routines, my rituals. I throw on my Kiss the Cook apron, hum some old school blues, and knead the dough like it holds the secrets to world peace. I was halfway through folding the second loaf when the front door rattled under a furious knock. Not a polite ring. Not even an urgent bang. No, this knock came with a kind of fury you don't usually find before 8 a.m. It was like someone was trying to punch their way through my oak panel front door. Still crusty-eyed and barefoot, I opened the door. There she was standing like the queen of petty kingdoms, arms crossed, lips pursed, and attitude dialed to 11. Her name was Melanie, but from that moment on, I called her Mad Mel, short for melodramatic, short for meddling, short for the kind of woman who wears floral blazers and has a clipboard for casual strolls around the neighborhood. She stared me down like I was a cockroach in her pristine suburban castle. "Good morning," she said, her voice soaked in saccharine sweetness, the kind that makes your teeth itch. "I'm here to inform you that this property is no longer yours." I blinked, then blinked again. Was I still asleep? Did the sourdough fumes get to me? "Excuse me," I asked, adjusting the apron still dusted in flour. Melanie didn't flinch. "You're no longer the rightful owner. This home has been transferred due to non-compliance with neighborhood regulations. The HOA has taken action. I personally purchased it. You'll need to vacate before Friday." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I honestly thought I was being pranked. Maybe some sort of hidden camera show. Maybe Ashton Kutcher was going to jump out of my shrubbery yelling, "Gotcha!" But no. Mel just stood there, smug and delusional, holding a thick manila folder like it was a sacred scroll. Now, let me give you some context. I'm an attorney. Real estate and civil litigation, to be exact. I've spent 12 years dissecting property law like a surgeon with a scalpel. If anyone knew the limits of HOA authority, it was me. I also knew something else. I never joined the HOA. I made sure of it when I bought this place. Opted out. Paid a premium to be free from the tyranny of lawn inspections and mailbox paint standards. My deed was ironclad. "Melanie," I said, "you must be mistaken. I own this house. I have the deed. I am not, nor have I ever been, part of your little organization." She didn't blink. "You'll sing a different tune when the moving trucks arrive." Then she turned on her orthopedic heels and strutted back to her minivan. I stood there in my apron and slippers, watching her drive off like some deranged sheriff who just posted an eviction notice on a saloon. And that's when I knew I wasn't dealing with a misunderstanding. I was dealing with war. I brewed the strongest cup of coffee my French press would allow and pulled out my paperwork. My deed? Still valid. My mortgage? Paid off years ago. Any liens? None. I even scanned through the original purchase documents to double-check that no HOA had jurisdiction over me. Nothing. I was clean. But Mad Mel? She wasn't. A little online digging revealed that Melanie Hartsworth was the self-appointed president of the neighborhood HOA, a title she claimed uncontested after the original board moved out during the pandemic. Her online presence was something else her LinkedIn read like a manifesto. Neighborhood preservationist, community beautification advocate, suburban culture enforcer. She once posted a 5-paragraph rant about someone's Halloween decorations being historically inaccurate. I dug deeper. The HOA she ran was notorious for issuing insane fines: $75 for weeds, $200 for wind chimes, $150 for mailboxes that weren't sufficiently beige. Melanie wasn't enforcing rules. She was enforcing control. And I? Apparently, I was her latest target. I decided to retaliate not with fists or shouting, but with the full might of a well-versed legal mind. I spent the next few hours crafting 2 letters. The first was addressed to Melanie directly, a cease and desist outlining the legal consequences of her false claim, harassment, and trespassing. I cited multiple precedents, quoted state statutes, and warned that further attempts to assert ownership over my property would lead to a restraining order and civil litigation. I made sure to phrase it professionally but clearly. No ambiguity, no wiggle room. The second letter went to the HOA board if you could even call the 3 retired couples and 1 confused college student on the roster a board. I formally accused Melanie of misconduct, abuse of power, and placing the HOA at risk of legal liability. I demanded her removal from leadership and recommended mandatory compliance training. But I wasn't done. I emailed a few homeowners who had previously posted anonymous complaints online and offered them free legal consultation. I even helped them draft their own letters. The plan was simple: turn quiet resentment into organized resistance. By Friday, Melanie had received her certified mail. By Monday, she was panicking. First came the board-member Parker, a man who always wore socks with sandals and spoke with a nervous stammer. He rang my doorbell like he was approaching a lion's den. "Mr. Green," he began, hands wringing. "We had no idea Melanie acted independently. The HOA does not support her actions. We were looking into it." I gave him the kind of smile you reserve for children who just confessed to stealing cookies. "I appreciate that, Ed," I said. "Let me know how the looking into it goes." Then came a phone call. Melanie's voice was no longer commanding. It was trembling. "Mr. Green, I believe there's been a misunderstanding." "Oh, there's no misunderstanding," I replied coolly. "You falsely claimed ownership of my home. You attempted to intimidate me, and you put your HOA in serious legal danger." "I didn't mean harm," she pleaded. "It was a mistake." "No, Melanie, a mistake is forgetting someone's name. You try to take my house." She fell silent. That evening, I showed up at the monthly HOA meeting. Normally, only a handful of people attended, but word had spread. The community center was packed. I waited patiently as homeowners aired grievances. One complained about a $300 fine for leaving a garden gnome out past Easter. Another had been told to repaint their door because the shade of red was too passionate. Then I stood. "Good evening," I began, holding a folder thick with printed evidence. "Most of you know me. My name is Elijah Green. I've lived on Maple Crest Lane for 7 years. I pay my taxes, I mow my lawn, and I keep to myself." I paused, letting the silence settle. "But last week, your HOA president showed up at my door and told me I had to vacate my home. She claimed ownership based on rules I never agreed to, and she did it without any legal authority." A ripple of gasps moved through the room. I continued. "I am filing a lawsuit against Melanie Hartsworth for slander, trespassing, and emotional distress. And I'm asking this board to remove her immediately before further harm is done." Melanie shot to her feet. "This is a witch hunt. He's twisting everything." But no one was listening. A motion was made. A vote followed. Unanimous. Melanie was officially removed. As she was escorted, outrage-faced and muttering threats under her breath, she turned to me one last time. "You'll regret this." I smiled, slow and steady. "Highly doubt it." In the weeks that followed, the neighborhood changed. Gone were the HOA fines, the notes on doors, the nonsense rules. People planted flowers in whatever color they wanted. Kids rode bikes without helmet patrol. There was peace. My lawsuit? Still pending. Her attorney tried to reach out. I told him I'd think about it. Let her sweat. Sometimes I sit on my porch with a glass of sweet tea and watch the sun dip below the rooftops. My neighbors wave. Some stop by. A few even ask for my ribs recipe. And I always chuckle when I remember I kicked a tyrant off my porch with nothing but a cease and desist and a smile. Because sometimes the strongest weapon isn't rage. It's reason. And the best revenge? A smoke ring curling off a barbecue grill as freedom sizzles in the background.